What if Dios already gave you the gift of discernment and you didn't notice? Everything looks fine, but inside you feel a weight. It's not intuition. It's not paranoia. It's Dios tuning your senses. Today you'll see 7 signs to recognize it. Number 7 appears when everything seems perfect. Leave your comment now. Dios, open my eyes. Sneak peek. You'll see it in a few minutes, and you'll know what to do starting today. Let's begin. Picture this. You walk into a room full of smiles. The music sounds good. The words are correct. But something inside you says, careful. No one else seems to notice. You don't have proof in your hand. All you have is that honest discomfort that won't let you rest. That's not an accident. When Dios awakens discernment, he speaks to you inside first. He shows it to you in silence, so you learn to listen. And once you learn to listen, you don't go back. First sign, you see without seeing. You're there, and you don't need anyone to explain it. You sense the atmosphere. You notice a fake peace, a smile that never reaches the eyes, a polished speech with emptiness underneath. It's as if your ears hear words, but your spirit hears the intention. That's distinguishing what comes from Dios and what doesn't. It's not to accuse anyone. It's to guard your heart and protect others. Those who carry this first sign rarely can explain it in technical terms. They just know. They sense what's clean and what's murky, what's true and what's staged, what brings light and what steals it. And when you feel it, you also feel the call to pray, not to point. Action today. The next time you feel that gentle alert, pause for 3 seconds and whisper, Dios, what are you showing me? Stay silent 5 seconds more. You don't need more for the light to come on. In a few minutes, I'll give you the silent test that confirms this sign, even when everything looks perfect. First, let's move on. Second sign, you recognize truth the moment you hear it. Not because you're smarter, because truth has a tone, a frequency. When you hear it, something in you rests. When you hear a mix, something in you tightens. You can hear very pretty phrases, but inside it sounds hollow. And the opposite happens too. Someone speaks with simplicity, without adornment, and inside you feel cleanliness. That's an inner alarm Dios uses to protect you. And yes, sometimes you question yourself, am I exaggerating? Am I being harsh? But over time you discover that alarm has spared you wounds. That's why many who have this sign are silent anchors in their surroundings. They're not carried away by trends, or by hype, or by the pressure of the moment. If this is you, you've noticed that appearances don't impress you. The source matters. Action today. When you hear something that sounds good but doesn't give you peace, write it down in 1 sentence and ask Dios, which part of this unsettles me? Then release that unease in a 1-minute prayer. 1 minute, nothing more. You'll see clarity arrive. Leave your comment now. Has it ever happened to you that you recognize something as true in seconds, even without proof? Say it briefly. Your story can help someone who's doubting their own sensitivity. Third sign, prayer that interrupts. It's not that you pray a lot to look good. It's that something awakens inside you. You're driving and feel a weight for a person. You're making coffee and a name comes to you. You don't know the details, but you know you must pray. Many times there's no visible crisis. And yet, a while later you find that timely prayer prevented something. Silent intercession is how Dios takes discernment and turns it into protection before the problem shows up in public. That's why those who walk in this sign learn a rhythm. Feel, pray, release. No gossip, no alarm, no chaos. Action today. Set a simple rule. Every time a name comes with weight, spend 60 seconds asking for covering, clarity, and direction for that person. Just 60 seconds. The discipline of 60 seconds is worth more than 10-minute speeches without guidance. In a few minutes, I'll show you the most misunderstood sign, the one confused with being negative. We're close. Let's continue. Fourth sign, hunger for purity. We're not talking about perfectionism. We're talking about an inner thirst for what's clean. It hurts you to see truth watered down. It saddens you to see the sacred taken lightly. You don't think you're better than anyone. In fact, you're very aware of your own battles. Precisely for that reason, you love a clean heart. People might call you intense. And yes, you are, but in the right way. You care that what you say and do has real substance. You can't stand the double layer, a spiritual face on the outside, emptiness inside. When this sign matures, you stop pointing with your finger. You point with your example. You become someone who apologizes quickly, corrects course quickly, and chooses truth even when it hurts. Action today. Choose a 3-minute cleansing practice. 1. Ask Dios to show you one small inconsistency from today. 2. Name it softly. 3. Choose one concrete step to align your heart. 3 minutes. Repeat tomorrow. 5th sign. You detect the enemy's tactics before others notice. Sometimes it's a popular piece of advice that sounds comfortable, but inside you know it leads you to drop principles. Sometimes it's a movement sold as freedom, but inside it smells like a shortcut. Sometimes it's counsel that puts you at the center and DOS at the edges. You can't always put it into words, but you can't ignore it. Those who walk in this sign become guardians at the gates, not out of fear, but out of love for what's true. You learn to spot the trap disguised as success. You learn to notice when the message becomes more important than the messenger. Action today. When you notice a shiny trend that unsettles you, ask 3 things. Does this draw me to depend more on Dios or more on myself? Does this ask for coherence or offer a shortcut? Does this bring deep peace or just euphoria? If 2 out of 3 answers don't give you peace, take 48 hours of distance and ask again. That pause will save you from many tangles. Sneak peek. In a few minutes we'll reach the sign that hurts most, the one that makes you feel alone. Before that, one more key. 6th sign. You feel misunderstood, sometimes isolated. It's common. You see things others don't see yet. You carry burdens others don't feel yet. And that can be tiring. You're not weird. You're not cold. It happens because sometimes Dios takes you a few steps ahead so you'll intercede and protect. It's true. There are days you wish you could switch this sensitivity off. But it's also true that over time, you learn to hear a soft voice that reminds you you're not alone. There are more people walking quietly, learning just like you to guard their hearts and uphold others. When this sign matures, you become tender with those who don't understand, patient with those who mock, firm with what you must not allow. And you become very human. You laugh, you rest, you learn to release what you can't carry. Action today. If loneliness feels heavy today, write 1 sentence on a small piece of paper. I am not alone. Dios sustains me and teaches me. Keep it in your pocket. Every time it weighs on you, touch it and breathe. Do it 3 times today. Don't underestimate that gesture. We've arrived at the one almost no one sees when everything looks perfect. The 7th sign. A burden to protect the sacred. It's not enough for you to detect. You want to care. It's not enough to hear. You want to act with love. You feel a quiet responsibility for the integrity of what you live and share. It bothers you to see what's valuable diluted. You feel the urge to say this far, but you say it from humility, not ego. Those who walk in this sign learn to correct in private before speaking in public, to warn without humiliating, to support without controlling. And one more thing. You understand that protecting the sacred starts at home. If you don't guard your own heart, you won't be able to guard anything else. Action today. Define 1 clear, practical boundary. For example, I won't make jokes about what is sacred, or I won't use words that sound good if there's no substance. Or if I feel an alert about someone, I'll pray for that person first and then speak if I must with respect. Write it, read it tomorrow. Live it for a week, breathe, look back for a second. You've recognized signs you may have lived for years without a name, seeing without seeing, recognizing truth immediately, prayer that interrupts, hunger for purity, detecting tactics ahead of time, feeling misunderstood and protecting the sacred. If you saw yourself in several, don't be afraid. This doesn't separate you from people. It draws you closer to serve them better. It doesn't make you a judge. It makes you a guardian with clean hands. It doesn't trap you. It sends you with purpose. I told you at the start there would be a silent test to confirm the first sign, even when everything looks perfect. Here it is. Next time you enter a place where everything seems to shine, listen to your breathing for 5 seconds. If in that brief silence you feel deep peace, proceed. If you feel pressure in your chest or a gentle resistance with no visible cause, don't force yourself to ignore it. Step aside, pray for 1 minute, observe. You'll see that many times that simple pause reveals things that weren't in plain sight. It's not fear, it's care. It's not judgment, it's wisdom. Now, how to use these signs without falling into 2 traps, harshness and exhaustion. First, harshness. Discernment without love becomes criticism. Criticism disguises itself as clarity, but it only wounds. The way out is simple and deep. Every time you see something, ask, how can I love better here? Sometimes loving means warning. Sometimes loving means staying quiet and praying. Sometimes loving means correcting with a gentle sentence. Love softens your voice so your words heal and don't cut at random. Second, exhaustion. Discernment wears you out when you assign your soul what belongs to Dios. Your part is to obey the alert, pray what you were given, and release what isn't yours to solve. If you keep everything, you break. If you release what's not yours, you grow. Leave your comment now. Which sign do you recognize in your story today? Write a single sentence. Be specific. Your clarity can awaken someone. Now I want to give you 7 real-life scenes to visualize these signs and concrete steps for the next 24 hours. Scene 1. You arrive at a meeting where everyone approves a brilliant idea. You feel a gentle no. You're not saying no out of stubbornness. You ask for a minute. You ask 2 questions no one asked. What do we lose if we do this? Whom does it affect? A crack opens and a risk appears that no one saw. Your questions save time and heart. Step in the next 24 hours. Write down 2 questions you'll always ask when you feel an alert. Keep them on your phone. Scene 2. You meet someone new. Everyone's delighted. You feel an inner urgency to set boundaries. You don't accuse. You speak clearly about your values. That early clarity saves you months of clashes. Step in the next 24 hours. Define 3 healthy boundaries you'll never negotiate. Scene 3. You wake up at dawn with a name in mind. You don't know why. You pray a minute for protection and light. In the afternoon, that person messages you. I don't know why, but I felt weighed down today. You say, I prayed for you. You don't give details. You don't dramatize. You simply serve. Step in the next 24 hours. Prepare a short list of people you'll pray for when names wake you up. Scene 4. A trend goes viral. It sounds like freedom, but it pushes you to drop quiet convictions. You pause. Someone calls you dramatic. 2 weeks later, the hidden cost appears. You don't rejoice at being right. You support. Step in the next 24 hours. Write 1 sentence to remind yourself that popularity is not the same as truth. Scene 5. You're growing, and you're invited to multiply faster than your character can sustain. You feel no. You say no. You prefer steady growth to famous growth. Months later, you're at peace, with no debt to your soul. Step in the next 24 hours. Define an internal measure of success that doesn't depend on applause. Scene 6. A place drains you. You don't know why. You go home without blaming anyone. You drink water, you sleep, and the next day you pray for that place 5 minutes without naming names. A week later, something shifts. Step in the next 24 hours. When you feel drained, instead of analyzing everything, hydrate, walk 10 minutes, and pray briefly. Your body discerns too. Scene 7. Everything looks perfect. The atmosphere shines. But there's one small detail that doesn't fit. You don't ignore it. You ask 3 questions, propose a brief wait, and ask to confirm facts. With that small break, you avoid a costly decision. Step in the next 24 hours. Add the habit of short verification to your life. 2 facts, 2 sources, 2 viewpoints. Truth loves verification. If you're wondering how to train this gift without becoming harsh, here's a 3-layer plan. Layer 1, brief daily silence. 2 minutes at the start of the day to tune the inner ear. Breathe, say Dios, tune my senses today, and stay still. Just 2 minutes. Layer 2, 1 small truth each day. Choose 1 small coherence and keep it. Don't promise 10 changes. 1, sustained coherence cleans the ear. Layer 3, awakened community. Surround yourself with at least 2 people who love truth more than approval. People who will tell you the truth with kindness. Share what you sense without adornment. Listen, decide together. Discernment is refined in company that loves the light. And now, what many need to hear, you're not strange for feeling. You're not crazy for being uncomfortable where others applaud. You're not better than anyone. You're responsible for what you hear inside. The world needs people who see before things break. People who pray before things fall. People who protect the sacred without shouting, without arrogance, without fear. If up to now you feel Dios spoke to you, whisper, "Thank you for tuning my ear." I respond, maybe today you're wondering how to speak when you see something that isn't right. Here's a brief, respectful, clear script you can adapt. I've felt some unease about this. I might be wrong, but there are 2 points that concern me, this one and this one. Can we pause for a day and review? If I'm wrong, I'll say so with no problem. If there's something real, we'll have spared ourselves pain. That's how you protect without attacking. That's how you care without imposing. And if you ever get tired, go back to basics. Water, breathing, 2 minutes of silence. 1 sentence of truth. 1 small decision. Repeat. You don't need to carry the world. Only obey the voice that spoke inside you. What you saw today isn't theory. It's practice. It's a path. It's Dios, opening your eyes so you walk with clarity, without harshness, without fear. If you felt confirmation, leave your comment now. I recognize sign number. And I decide to write it just like that, simple and direct. Your sentence is an act, and acts open paths. If this message brought you light, share it with someone who has always felt things they didn't know how to name. Give their process a name. Walk with them. Discernment doesn't separate us. It unites us to care. Before we close, listen to this brief prayer for whoever needs it today. Dios, open my eyes and cleanse my heart. Teach me to love the truth and to hear your voice above the noise. Give me humility to correct and courage to protect. I want to walk with you, with awakened eyes and clean hands. Amen. Now then, walk light, tune your ear. And remember, when everything shines, listen to the silence. That's where the light begins. Subscribe and share this message with 2 people who need light today. And if you want to go deeper, watch the next video on screen now.